The following is a special presentation of ESPN on ABC.
Last week, Justin Wilson broke through the Penske Ganassi ceiling and took the win at Watkins Glen. Well, this week, we're in Toronto, Canada, and we've transformed its roads and streets into an IndyCar racetrack. Canada's open-wheel history started back in 1967. And since then, the streets of Toronto have seen all the big names in the sport of open-wheel racing. Well, today's top driving talents have crossed the border to chase the checkered flag here in the land of the Great White North. Welcome to Exhibition Place, the 1 3/4 mile street circuit here in Toronto, Canada, as we have a crystal clear, perfect day for racing, as it is a return to this scenic spot after a one-year absence where some of the best names in the sport have won. Michael Andretti 7 times, Al Unser Jr., Emerson Fittipaldi, and Bobby Rahal. Now, who can win today? Could it be Danica Patrick? She's going to be starting 18th. It's not been one of her better weekends. How about the Canadian favorite, Paul Tracy? He has won here before, and we'll have more on the story about all the names on his fire suit. I don't know if we can describe quite what that getup is. That's Alex Tagliani, another member of the Canadian contingent. And, of course, he has sponsorship from King Tut, and I think that explains it. 23 cars will be taking the green flag. There they are, lined up down in pit lane as we are getting ready to go racing for a total of 85 laps around this 1 3/4 mile street circuit. There is Justin Wilson. Boy, just 1 week ago, he snapped that streak. 8 races in a row. Team Penske and Team Ganassi had won, and then it was Justin's turn.
The green flag will wave. The Camping World Grand Prix at the Glen is underway. There's the lead change. Justin Wilson with a brilliant move inside will have the lead.
It is David versus Goliath. You're looking at David. Justin Wilson driving for Dale Coyne Racing, a team that has never won. Right behind him is Goliath in the form of Team Penske and Ganassi Racing.
And the Penske-Ganassi dominance, at least for now, has ended.
Justin Wilson has run a near picture-perfect race as he wins at Watkins Glen International. Dale Coyne Racing will go to victory lane for the first time in the IndyCar Series.
I'm here with Justin Wilson, last week's winner at Watkins Glen. You win at the Glen, you go straight to Seneca Lodge to celebrate. Getting a look at that celebration photo from the lodge last week. Justin, a storybook finish for you and Dale Coyne Racing. How do you capitalize on the momentum your team's got going?
Well, obviously that was fantastic, but come Monday morning, we're eager to do it again. So we came here with a car that we thought would work, and we just kept tuning on it all weekend, trying to give ourselves the best opportunity. I was hoping to qualify higher than 4th, but we're pretty happy with 4th place. And you know, I think the Z-Line's design furniture car is going to be quick in the race, and we can move forwards and go for the podium. Good
shot at a repeat, guys. They'll start 4th.
In peak pole qualifying yesterday, it was Willpower getting back in a Penske car that qualified on the outside pole. But the man that had to wait it out for about 30 seconds at the end to score yet another pole position for target Chip Ganassi is Dario Franchitti, who put his best time up in the Firestone Fast 6 early in the session. So Dario, now with as bumpy as this racetrack is, how important is that pole position?
That's very important. Starting up front here is yeah, it's a big advantage, but it's still difficult to get through turn 1, turn 3. And as bumpy as it is and as tight as it is here at Toronto, it's really easy to make a mistake. So we're just going to do our best, push hard all day, and see what happens.
He's won here before.
Willpower won this event the last time it was run here in Toronto in 2007. A partial schedule for Penske Racing this season. You haven't raced since the Indianapolis 500. What's the greatest challenge created by that layoff?
No, just a little bit of form, and I'm a little sore because I haven't been in the car, but I got up to speed really quick. You know, I was quickest in the first session, and you know, so the Penske truck rentals car has been very strong.
Marty, doesn't seem to be any rust on Willpower. He'll start second today.
Thanks, Vince. As we always talk about, it is so difficult to pass on the street circuits, so qualifying becomes a critical issue. This was the second round of knockout qualifying, and you'll see that Scott Dixon slows, Elio Castroneves goes around. But the story is a little deeper than that. He felt he was held up a lot longer, and he was not very happy when he got done and did not advance, and he let everybody know it.
I thought he's done with his lap, so I keep going, and then I realized that he didn't, so I back off and wait, so he completes one lap, and then he slowed down again. I'm like, dude, I mean, it just keep going, you know, and just frustrated.
I saw him definitely on the last lap, but as I said, you know, I was just slowing down to Tagliani, who was in front of me, that kept, you know, sort of going back and forth, so can't do much about it, man.
Well, let's bring in our driver, Scott Goodyear. You've raced on the streets here in Toronto. You know how difficult it can be. Is this just boys being boys?
Well, Marty, there's a lot of importance in qualifying, as you mentioned, because track position here is so important because it is tough to pass. And for Elio Castroneves, maybe he just needs to back off a little bit, give himself some more space. But also, Elio won here in 1997 in Indy Lights car, only finished 10th so far here in an IndyCar. The pressure's on Elio this weekend.
Well, let's take a look at the points championship, because Dario Franchitti gained the pole yesterday, so he picks up the one bonus point and now is only 18 markers behind his teammate Scott Dixon. But here's where I want to go next. Take a look at the top 8 in points. Dario Franchitti starting up front. The other 7, the best starting position is 8th. That's right. They're going to be back in the middle of the pack. Do we see another first-time winner for this year like we did last week with Justin Wilson?
I think we have a great opportunity for that, because they say the street and road courses are a great opportunity for these teams to move further forward, and the opportunity here is because they don't have oval cars with all that trick suspension. I think right now these drivers, these teams know this is the time to make light for the teams.
And one of the interesting stories we're going to be following is going to be tires, tires, tires. Remember the red and the black combination? They're reacting totally different than they did last week here on the streets of Toronto. Oh, it is so beautiful up here in the summertime. And when we come back, we'll start engines and get this race underway.
ESPN's coverage of the IndyCar Series at Toronto on ABC. Brought to you by GoDaddy.com, where you can make the web your domain with a .com name for less than $1 a month. And Iowa's corn growers, proudly feeding and fueling the world.
Oh yes, plenty of boaters out on Lake Ontario. Right now our attention's focusing down trackside as we're getting ready to go racing after a one-year hiatus here on the streets of Toronto. Let's get this race underway and get the command to start engines.
Toronto race fans, are you ready? It's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Please welcome back the one, the only, Gene Simmons, as he gives the command.
It's my privilege and my honor to say the following. Ladies and gentlemen, start your Honda engines.
The engines have fired on 23 race cars as they are getting ready to turn 85 laps over this 1 3/4 mile street circuit. When we come back, they'll be on the first of 3 pace laps and will be going green. Looking down from Google Earth, let's take a look at this layout here on the streets of Toronto. Scott?
Marty, a very fast race course with a lot of mixture of slow and medium turns along with it also. But the run down here to turn 1 is 150 miles an hour into a hard braking zone as we ride along now with Willpower from Penske Racing. Coming out of turn 1 onto turn 2 down to Lakeshore Boulevard. That run down to turn 3 will see speeds of 170 miles an hour in top gear. Hard on the brakes, down to about 40 miles an hour. A great passing zone here going into turn 3. Watch for a lot of action here today. This next section, turns 3, 4, and 5. You're down to first gear in turn 3. Getting back on the gas, hard to put power down. It's like driving in a narrow concrete canyon. And this turn 5 has been a problem area for quite a few drivers, including Danica Patrick and Elio this past weekend. The next section here through turns 8, 9, 10, and 11. Hard braking into turn 8. Maybe a possibility of a little passing, though, but it can be dicey with the bounciness of the track. And then you get in through 9, 10, and 11. A very high-speed section here. You have to get on the power quickly to get a run down to the Princess Gates. A great passing opportunity as we go down here towards turn 1.
And you can see just how rough this circuit really is. There are the cars out on the track. Let's give you the starting lineup across the top of the screen, and you're going to notice some very familiar names towards the rear of this field. In fact, all the Andretti green cars, the best they qualified, 17th. Now let's talk about the tire combinations, because 5 cars are going to be on the primary black, harder compound. That includes Rafa Matos, Elio Castroneves, Ryan Briscoe, Danica Patrick, and Hideki Muto. Everybody else will be starting on the softer compound, reds. We have a total of 6 onboards, and as you take a look at those 6, we also have a foot camera with Danica Patrick and a nose camera, and you've got it right there on the lower right portion of your screen on Marco Andretti's car, and that is going to give us some great shots. We do have several past winners in this field, including the man we're riding on board with, Willpower. Paul Tracy's won it twice in '93 and '03. Dario Franchitti and Justin Wilson have made it 4 former winners in the field today. Time to get final updates from pit lane. Brienne Pettigo, you're up first.
Marty, Newman Haas Lanigan Racing knows how to get the job done here in Toronto. They've got 7 wins and 16 podiums. If Graham Rahal and his team can bank on some of that experience here today, they should certainly be contenders. Vince?
Last week, Alex Tagliani was watching the Watkins Glen race from home on his couch. And that's because his team, Conquest Racing, didn't have the resources to run the event. And while it pained Tagliani that he was not in the race car, he took satisfaction in seeing Justin Wilson of small-funded Dale Coyne Racing win that event. It proved to Tagliani and the rest of those under-budgeted teams they can win in this series. Tagliani has been one of the fastest here in Toronto this weekend. He may be the guy that assumes the role of David in the battle against Goliath. Jack?
Vince, our GoDaddy.com rules of racing remains exactly the same as it was 1 week ago at Watkins Glen with the use of the Firestone Blacks and the Firestone Reds. But that's how far it remains the same. The Reds and the Blacks that Firestone has brought here for the first time this season are exactly the same as we have a flyover here. The exhibition center are the exact same set that were used at Long Beach. Now at Long Beach there wasn't a big difference between the Firestone Reds and the Blacks. It remains to be seen if that will be the case today.
All right, thanks, Jack. As we are on the final pace lap, let's take a look at our race analysis as we will turn 85 laps, about 149 miles of this 1.7 mile circuit, 11 turns, and the pit window 30 to 35 laps, Scott, which means 2 stops.
And all the drivers are going to try and make a little bit of fuel. A lot of it's going to depend on what they want to do with tires and how the Reds and the Blacks hold out. Everybody seems to have a different strategy. But as we come up to green, Marty, 12 of the drivers to start the race here today have not started an IndyCar race at Toronto. And the last time they did in 2007 in Champ Car, both Tracy and Rahal were out on the first lap.
So the cars make their way up from turns 8, 9. Get ready to come through 10. They should form up here. It'll be Dario Franchitti on the inside. Actually, left side of your screen, you see him there in the number 10. As they come through turn 11, the green flag waves, and this race is green.
Already parts flying, wings from race cars went up over the fence area, so some contact has happened already between cars.
And one car went off through the Princess's Gates. We'll have to check and see who comes out on the other end, as it is Dario Franchitti trying to open up a very quick lead. Take a look. It's Alex Tagliani with a great start that moves into second place. And then it's Robert Dornbos, and oh, what a logjam, the 0-2. Graham Rahal having difficulty getting the grip.
Always is here because you're coming down that Lakeshore Boulevard Drive at high speed. The tires are not quite up to temperature, up to pressure at this point in time. But for Dario Franchitti, he certainly needs to make sure he can just keep going forward.
Problems with Willpower. What's going on, Vince?
Well, at the start, Willpower's right rear collided with the wing of another car, and it has cut the rear tire of Willpower. He has a flat right rear. He's bringing the car to pit lane. They'll put 4 fresh Firestone blacks on and send him back out. But a tough blow for a driver considered to be one of the favorites to win this race today.
And he's heading for turn 8 right now, and the race leaders, he is probably going to go a lap down in this entire process.
Saw the wings flying on the start, so as mentioned by Vince Wells, a bad scenario for Willpower. Different strategy going to work out for him now. He'll come up with a whole different problem.
Jack, what's going on?
An unexpected pit stop for Ryan Briscoe. He was in mid-pack on the start. They have come in. They did not go to red tires. Remember, the Penske team started on the blacks. There was a problem with the tire, but we're going to have to check on that. Vince?
Willpower came in, took care of the 4 tires as we told you that he would, and off back into competition goes the 12 car of Willpower.
Well, we thought this was going to be a busy day for the 3 of you down in pit lane, and these guys are living up to it already. As here we come up with another lap complete. This will be lap number 2, and it'll be Dario Franchitti and his lead over Alex Tagliani over 1 second. Then Robert Dornbos is 3rd. Scott Dixon is 4th. Mike Conway with a good start up to 5th. Elio Castroneves in 6th. That's down the long backstretch. Lake Ontario is off to the driver's left, our right. They're heading for turn 3. And there you can see, here comes the race leader, and that was Willpower just ahead. While all this is going on, we've got word that Graham Rahal's made a pit stop, Brianne.
That's right, Marty. There's a little bit of confusion down here as to whether or not it was Willpower or Justin Wilson who made contact with the O2 of Graham Rahal. But the crew went into action fast, brought him in, changed the nose, topped him off with fuel, and he's back out.
So already early pit stops by a number of teams. And unfortunately for all of them, too early to be anywhere close to the window.
And for a lot of those teams also, the rule is that you have to run 2 green flag laps with those red sidewall tires, and they only got 1 lap in it, so that's going to be a scenario they're going to have to play out later in the race. So they probably have to put those red tires back on to fall within the rules.
Got word from pit lane, it was a flat right rear on Ryan Briscoe's number 6 for Team Penske, so that explains why he had to come in early, and there he is right now. Briscoe running in 22nd position, 41 seconds behind. Willpower did manage, we can tell you, to just barely stay on the lead lap, although he is dead last in the field right now, and there he is trying to drive the wheels off of that. Vince, what's the latest you're hearing now that he's back out?
Well, look at the tire and the damage done, and this is what happens in close quarter racing, particularly on the road and street courses. The wing is so sharp, it hits the rear of the tire and just slices it. No offense to the construction of the tire for sure, but that just is an indication of how much damage can be done just from contact from the wing to the tire. That's what flattened the tire, brought Willpower in, and certainly has changed the initial strategy of the race for this team in Penske Racing.
Certainly has. Let's go back and take a look at the start of the race and see if we can see exactly what happened with the contact.
And when you come through these turns at turn 11, everybody's trying to get the power down. You see everybody sliding their car out towards the outside wall, and it's hard because you're going through a turn to get the opportunity to make sure that you can be away from your competitor. And there it was the McDonald's car of Graham Rahal. It was his front wing that ended up slicing the tire of Ryan Briscoe.
So after starting second, our 2007 winner here at Toronto, as you can see, all the way back to dead last, but he is hustling right now because he is actually picking up a little bit of time and staying on the lead lap. What he wants to see right now is an early caution.
And on that replay we just saw, that was this cut tire of Willpower. I said Ryan Briscoe, but the 2 Penske cars right now of Ryan Briscoe and Willpower running 22nd and 23rd. Not something they thought they'd find themselves doing.
Well, our race leader is Dario Franchitti, the 7th time this season that Dario has led a race, and we're only 5 laps in and already had a lot of action in pit lane. Stay with us as we go side by side. Back here at Exhibition Place in Toronto, Ontario, it's Dario Franchitti by 2.8 seconds over Alex Tagliani. Robert Dornbos is in third. Then Scott Dixon is fourth. Mike Conway fifth. Elio Castroneves is in sixth. Justin Wilson has dropped it down a few positions, and now we are getting a full course caution because of the spin by Dan Weldon. Weldon was running in 21st position, and Scott, it has not been his kind of weekend.
Well, he's not been very strong. Has struggled a little bit here with the team getting his car up to speed, but right now for Willpower, it's going to make him very happy because he has the opportunity to come around to the tail end of the pack and is no longer in chance of getting lapped by Dario Franchitti.
Let's go back and show you what happened. This is heading into turn 3.
Goes for the center of the turn. The 98 of Richard Antonucci is going for the same space. You ride along now with Dan Weldon. Watch your right-hand side. The car will appear, goes there, and just touches the right rear of the National Guard car of Dan Weldon and spins him out.
Delphi safety crew will turn him around, and they have the capability of restarting the engine. And looks like Dan will be able to continue. There's a beautiful aerial view. That's turns 3, 4, and into 5 there. And then from the top of the screen is turn 6. And you can see that everybody is laid out here on lap 9 of 85. So it looks like everybody is going to take advantage. And you're right, this is a huge break for Willpower, as he stayed on the lead lap thanks to some very fast pit work, getting that damaged tire replaced. Got back out and stayed long enough to get back.
Well, he was running the speed of the leaders. He was actually running a pace just a little bit quicker than Dario Franchitti, which is what he needed to do. But he certainly needed this break so he can go now, like as we mentioned, to the back of the pack and just get close to everybody. He had a difficult task in front of him if there was not going to be a yellow.
Pit lane remained closed that time by, so hopefully it will be opened the next time around. Biggest mover of the race so far has been Paul Tracy, Tony Kanaan. They have each moved up a total of 6 positions. At one point, Tracy was up 7.
Now, for a lot of these teams that started on the red wall tires, they'll go ahead and probably change over to the blacks. And there was some talk about the red wall tires not actually lasting as long as the standard black sidewall tires. So now for all these teams, they have run their obligation of running at least 2 laps, run many more than that with the red sidewall tires. So they'll come in, put the blacks on, and this will be interesting to see if Dario Franchitti still has the pace that he had when he was here on the reds. As you can see, a lot of the cars going past with the red sidewall tires. A little bit more grip out of those tires, Marty, but they probably will not last as long as the standard tires they brought here this weekend.
Well, what's also interesting in this equation, if you do the math, you have, we're working, what, lap number 10, and we think the window can go as far as 35 laps, so that would be, if 2 stops, you need to 70. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens as this continues to unfold. Of course, most teams are expecting more than 1 caution period, so that could play into the equation as well. Pits, we have been told, will be open this time by. We'll see if anybody stays out to take advantage of track position and try and move from the back towards the front. Justin Wilson, just as I was talking about right before we had the spin, he dropped 3 positions from his starting spot. So not going in the right direction. And yes, a number of teams are staying out and a few are coming in. Looks like Ryan Hunter-Ray, Justin Wilson, Brienne.
Marty, Justin Wilson just came into the pits. They were deliberating whether or not to change tires at all, but it was a last-minute call, fuel and sticker blacks, guys.
Ryan Briscoe is also in for Team Penske. Now remember, this will be his 2nd stop, Jack.
And he's simply topping off much the way his teammate did as well. Here's the strategy that Team Penske is going to operate on. They started on the Firestone blacks. They remain on those Firestone blacks. They are going to try and save the reds for their 2nd pit stop, guys, and hope that it may be a short fill opportunity. They say they'll only last about 20 laps. They're going to try and use the blacks to gain track position. That's why they only had 2.
Okay, so a total of 9 or 10 cars now have actually stopped on this caution, our first of the day. And a little disagreement there between Hideki Muto and Richard Antonucci as to who should be lined up in front of the other. I'm sure scoring will sort that out. But right now, Dario Franchitti, Alex Tagliani, Robert Dornbos, Scott Dixon, Mike Conway, Paul Tracy, Rafa Matos. That's your top 7. They all stayed out.
And probably betting that there'll be another yellow somewhere down the road here and trying to make this in a one-stop race, I'm sure. And this event does have a history of having quite a few yellows. And a lot of teams look back on the history of this event, and they will take that into stride when they go ahead and make their decisions on strategy.
Well, pace car has pulled off. That means the field is in the hands of Dario Franchitti, and he's on the hammer coming through 11. Green flag in the starter's hands, and we're back to racing here in Toronto. And it looks like Dixon on the outside heading into turn 1. Can't get it done.
On the start, you saw Franchitti able to put the power down on his car a little sooner than Alex Tagliani. You see Dixon right now taking a look at Dornbos getting on the inside.
And it looks like he has the pass made. He clears him. So Dornbos moves back 1 spot as Scott Dixon moves up to 3rd. That's Tony Kanaan diving underneath Rafa Matos into turn number 5.
Tony has experience here, and he has the knowledge of being able to get the power down coming out of turn 3.
We're getting word another full course caution in the works. Ed Carpenter has a problem out on the course, and that is a problem when your nose is into the concrete. Doesn't look like a lot of damage, but it has not been Ed's forte on the road courses, and it has been a very difficult weekend here in Toronto as we take another look at what happened.
Now he has spun the car in turn 6. As we look back on his car, he's going to try and put the power down. And just gasses it just a little bit too quickly, spins the tires, and the back end comes around.
And as you can see, Dan Weldon is back out as we'll be back after this message from our ABC stations. As we ride along with Marco Andretti on the nose of his number 26. Let's talk about the Motorsports Calendar. NHRA Mile High Nationals tonight, 7 Eastern on ESPN2. And then NASCAR Now, presented by the Home Depot, is 5 Eastern on Monday, also on ESPN2. And then next week, NASCAR Nationwide Series will have qualifying 5 Eastern from St. Louis on ESPN2. That's on Saturday. And Nationwide Series race at Gateway, 9 Eastern Saturday night on ESPN2. And the IndyCar Series, well, they'll be at Vancouver, 5 Eastern, Sunday, July 26th on and Edmonton, I should say. Let's check in on strategy with Jack Arute.
Marty, each and every time the teams have laid out in preparation, but for Dario Franchitti and for others, the window is not yet open. So what they're trying to do is trying to run the string out to lap 14 or 15, then get those Firestone red tires off their cars. So right now the window is still a little too shallow for them to chance to make this one more stop. Franchitti has been given the green light, though, to let her rip, according to Barry Wanzer.
And we're back to green flag racing just as you finish up, Jack. So it is Dario Franchitti, Alex Tagliani. Then we've got Scott Dixon. 4th place is Robert Dornbos. Mike Conway is in 5th. And Paul Tracy has moved up to 6th.
2 Canadians, Alex Tagliani, and you just mentioned about Paul Tracy. Alex got a great restart there. Very much a better start than he did previously, but still, Franchitti looks like he has the opportunity to have a better car. And a peeking on the inside, and Conway gets it done.
He gets around Dornbos, and look at Tracy trying to take advantage as well.
And he does. Once you are pushed out on that turn off stride, it's very difficult to get the power down. Remember, it's a 40-mile-an-hour turn coming from 170 miles an hour. You're down to 1st gear.
So Paul Tracy now finds himself moving up through the field, Vince.
Well, and it should be no surprise. They did miss the setup in qualifying a bit, but they have been fast in practice. They were fast in the morning warm-up today. And if there's anybody that knows how to get around Toronto, it's Paul Tracy. He's won this race twice. And you recall back in 2003, he led every single lap of this race. He is the big mover so far, as you see. He and Tony Kanaan and Hideki Muto making their way toward the front.
Hey, Vince, while we've still got Paul in our sights, bring us up to date on all the names on his uniform.
It's been a great story, Marty. The woundedwarriors.ca. This driver suit that he is wearing here today has been on display in the fan area throughout the course of the weekend, and with the donation, the fans can sign their name to the uniform. And then after racing in that driver suit today, it will be auctioned off. Honda Canada will then match all of the proceeds from not only the sign up and sign today, which raised more than $8,800, but also the auction of the driver suit. Honda Canada will match that and contribute it to woundedwarriors.ca. It's a group that provides funds for wounded Canadian veterans from Afghanistan, Marty.
And thanks for the update. And this is video we're showing that was Danica signing it also. So now it's going to be worth even a little bit more. And everybody was getting behind this. It was a great idea, and hats off to Paul and everybody involved in the team. He continues to run now in 5th spot. Mike Conway is right in front of him. And we keep talking about this as being an opportunity race. Conway had a good run last week, and he's having another good run for Dreyer Reinbold Racing this week.
And it's a great equalizer, these street and road courses, for the smaller teams, because as we mentioned earlier on the show, the oval tracks, teams have really perfected those cars, both with the suspension, also with the aerodynamic package. And the smaller teams that don't have the money to spend a lot of time in the wind tunnel don't have the opportunity on ovals. But the small teams, as we look at the 24 car of Mike Conway right now with Dreyer and Reinbold, and we saw Justin Wilson win last week, those teams, Vince Welsh, really are making every effort here to run strong.
Well, and Dreyer and Reinbold really building some momentum with Mike Conway, as you see battle on track there. Conway in the 24 car had a career best 6th place finish last week at Watkins Glen. He had never been to this course before here in Toronto until driving around in a passenger car on Thursday. And Scott, you can speak to this. He said it wasn't so difficult figuring out the layout, but it's the nuances of the track. Where are the bumps? Where are the speed zones? That's the difficult part when you've never been here before.
And it's just those 6 inches here, 6 inches there, Vince, that make all the difference to getting a good lap underneath you. And this is a very bumpy street circuit, simply because you go through different types of surfaces. From the concrete, you see the cars going off there, back onto the pavement, probably more so than any other track, and also the crown in the road, the high center of the road to let the water drain off. It really plays havoc on the cars here, especially in the turns we're going through now, in turn 6 all the way through turn 7. We'll get 140 miles an hour here in turn 7 on that run down to turn 8.
There you see the average finish for Mike Conway in the first 6 races versus what we've done just recently. After 17 of 85 laps, there's your top 5. We'll go side by side. You'll continue to see the action here from Exhibition Place. Back here at Exhibition Place in Toronto, you're looking at the one and only Firestone Lap Leader of the event so far. Dario Franchitti started on pole, took the lead from the drop of the green flag, and here we are working lap 22, and he has led every single circuit. Let's get you up to speed on everybody through at least the top 10. And Jack, you've got the leader.
And for Dario Franchitti, it's been a flawless run as he heads down to the Princess Gate with the Firestone red tires. He has fulfilled his obligation there, and now the window is open, fellas. So the next opportunity with a full course yellow, Franchitti will pit to go to the Firestone blacks. Vince?
Alex Tagliani is running in second. Remember, we told you in the open that this is one of the small budget teams that believes it has the potential to stun the field with a win here today. Right now, they're telling him, push hard, get after Franchitti, who's running ahead of him. So Alex Tagliani putting the power down, trying to make up ground, Jack.
And right behind Tags is Scott Dixon, also on the Firestone Reds, and he too has fulfilled his obligation. His run so far has been one of patience, Vince. The idea being there's not much he can do right now. They want to wait for later in the race.
Well, and running fourth is another bit of a surprise in Mike Conway, although when you look at the finish he had last week at Watkins Glen, maybe it's not such a surprise, and especially since Conway has been fast here all weekend. His average road course and street course finish is 15th. He's running much better than that the last 2 weeks. This is a young driver, a rookie, who's on the charge. Well, Paul Tracy is no rookie. He's as veteran as they come. He's run just 3 races here so far this season, and he has not really posted a big result worth showing for it. He believes he can get that result today. Starting toward the back, he quickly made up 7 spots on the very first lap, and now Paul Tracy is in contention. Brianne?
Right behind Paul Tracy is Robert Dornbos from Newman Haas Lanigan Racing. Robert says he feels his season starts here in Toronto at the midway point with this series of road courses and street courses they've got. He feels he's got to make his impression right now. He got a top 10 last week in Watkins Glen, looking to improve upon that here in Toronto. Vince?
Mario Marias is next in the line. He's moved up 6 places since the start. And remember, this is a driver that's had some issues during the course of this season, keeping himself in the car because he's been wrecking and having to get out of the car. So his team's been preaching patience to him. Patience, patience, patience. Marias has shown it so far this weekend. In 8th place is Thomas Schechter. It's also Schechter's first start here in Toronto. He says the car has had a very sensitive rear end, and if he can find comfort in the back and still be able to make the front end work, he believes he's got a car that can contend as well. The next spot back is E.J. Viso in 9th. Viso broke a drive shaft in the morning warm-up, got 0 laps, so he wasn't quite sure what he was going to have in this race car today. But so far, it hasn't been much of an issue. For this team, they just want to get to the end. 7 DNFs for E.J. Viso this season. Finishing the race is a victory in itself, Brienne.
Tony Kanaan has moved up 10 spots. He started 20th, and he's already up to 10th. This is a major coup for this team that could use a strong finish this weekend. Tony says he feels he's got a top 5 car. He just needs a little bit of luck. Guys?
All right, thanks, Brienne. And you may want to head for Robert Dornbos's camp because he is sliding. He is now back to 9th, and he's got his mirrors full of Paul Tracy. There you see Rafa Matos, one of the rookies, and he is doing very well in 11th. Then you have Elio Castroneves and Justin Wilson, and we've got several cars peeling off coming into pit lane, including Dornbos and our 10th place car, which was Tony Kanaan. So Kanaan comes in, and this working on lap number 25 of 85. So as Jack pointed out, the window is open. The blacks are going on for the number 11. Briscoe, let's send it to Jack.
And that early pit stop for Ryan Briscoe has changed their strategy. They're going to the Firestone red. They are going to have to come off, and this is a last-minute decision made by Roger Penske. And why? Because they were not getting a decided advantage on the blacks, guys.
And we were right. Robert Dornbos has more than just a fuel issue. He's got problems as they're still in pit lane.
Well, it looks like they have the electronic box out that the guys are trying to take off the back engine cowling right now, and will change the black box. And we see for the second time today, Ed Carpenter's having a problem on track.
That's down at turn number 8. And you say, how can you tell? They all look the same. Well, just look at the banners as here comes the race leader, Jack.
And Dario Franchitti will go to the Firestone Blacks. He, too, has completed it with the window open. Now they have a problem. They've got a major problem on the left rear. Very, very long stop for Dario Franchitti. The left rear lug nut was stripped, and they had to take it back off and put it back on, guys.
And did you see that we saw 3, maybe 4 cars get by him because of that one problem?
And this track, it's very difficult to pass on. Even Dario Franchitti said that earlier. This is a track that's all about track position. So will it work out for him in yellows where he'll be able to get some spots in the pit lane? Or is he going to turn around and be able to have to get past these drivers in front? He's certainly been the fastest driver. And now a little confrontation going on with the 26 car of Marco Andretti at the end of Lakeshore Boulevard in turn 3 there.
So he got around to pick up that spot, put Franchitti into 15th, but he is 24 seconds behind our new race leader, Alex Tagliani. There is Tags heading down into turn number 1. Scott Dixon has moved up to 2nd. Mike Conway is 3rd. Paul Tracy has moved up to 4th now, with Mario Marias another 5 seconds behind in 5th. So there is your top 5 as we're working lap 27 of 85 here at Exhibition Place in Toronto. We told you this was going to get interesting, and it has. The action fast and furious, but let's talk a little golf. The most prestigious championship in the game, defending champ Padraig Harrington. Tiger Woods, the world's best, return to the birthplace of golf. The Open Championship on ABC, Saturday, July 18th at 9 a.m. Eastern, and the final round coverage Sunday, July 19th at 8 a.m. Eastern. For more, just log on to ESPN.com. If you're just tuning in, we can tell you we have 2 different leaders now. Alex Tagliani has led the last 4 laps, and Paul Tracy is a man on a mission. You saw it in side-by-side. He got around first, Mike Conway, and then Scott Dixon. And it looks like Dixon may have peeled off, and yes, he is headed for pit lane. So Jack will send it your way.
Scott Dixon locks it up. They will change tires, and all they'll do is put in a sufficient amount of fuel to finish the tire change. You see they are down and away. That's what we call in IndyCar racing, Scott, a short fill.
Spent as little time in the pits as possible to get it back out on the track for track position, probably gambling on some more yellows coming. But we're seeing the two Canadians in the field right now, Alex Tagliani and Paul Tracy, just having a great battle. And Marty, you mentioned that Paul Tracy's a man on the move. I mean, he has been just putting the pedal to the metal here, and it's amazing how quickly he's moved up through the field. He seems to like that run down Lakeshore Boulevard, going into turn 3, 170-mile-an-hour straightaway down to that 40-mile-an-hour turn. We'll see if he sets up tags here going through turns 1 and 2 for that drive down Lakeshore Boulevard to make that run in turn 3.
Mike Conway in third place peels off and heads for pit lane. He was on the reds. Looks like he is going to go to, yes, the blacks. Trouble a little bit on the left rear, but he is finally down and back out on track. Meanwhile, when we come back, a little bit of a gap has opened up as there was some lap traffic ahead of our race leaders, Alex Tagliani. I noticed you got the fact that the Canadians are 1-2, as you are a native of Toronto. You didn't grow up very far from here.
Not far from here whatsoever. Had the opportunity to run here at the Toronto Indy many times. A great event, and for the drivers right now that are leading, there's a lot of pride for them as they're going to run down this back straightaway here through turn 7. And the Ontario Yours to Discover banner on the side, so a little bit of Canadianism here happening, I'm sure.
Well, these are the first laps Alex Tagliani has led in the IndyCar series. The last time he led a race was the San Jose Champ Car race back in 2007. And he's coming up to complete lap number 31 of 85. And so far, we've had 2 cautions in the event, 2 lead changes. Let's get an update on Dario Franchitti. He is in 15th position, Jack.
And that pit stop, the miscue on the outside rear tire was doubly costly, not only in terms of time, but they had intended to make that a short fill. Well, with the extra time, you think they might have been able to take on additional fuel. But watch this pit stop. The fuel man makes the connect. He also will shortly make the disconnect, and they have the problem on the outside rear. No fuel is flowing while they make the change on that outside rear. No fuel went into that 22-gallon tank. So it was still a short fill and a long stop.
And let me guess, the team's not going to tell you how much they didn't get in and how soon they're going to have to return to pit lane.
Well, they told me they'd tell me, but then they'd have to kill me.
A couple more cars peeling off for pit stops under green flag competition. That's Robert Dornbos coming back in, and Paul Tracy. Vince?
Paul Tracy going from the reds to the blacks, putting on the fuel. It's been a great run from Tracy so far, from that 15th starting position up as high as second. A clean stop and away for the 15 of Paul Tracy.
So Tracy goes a full 32 laps on before he makes his first stop. Alex Tagliani is still out there, and both, remember, were on the reds, and you can see the red sidewalls on Tagliani's car. So the red seems to be holding up. Lap times are sufficient.
Well, and for Tags right now, his fastest laps are happening right now, so the fuel is burning off. The car is getting lighter. The tires do not seem to be going away from him, so his car certainly is set up and likes the red compound right now.
Take a look. Here comes the hard charging Paul Tracy. Tracy lights him up and dives under Conway again into turn number 3, and that's for 10th place on the track.
And they don't call him the Thrill from West Hill for nothing. And right now, Conway's got a flat rear tire. Was that a result of maybe some contact with Paul Tracy's car? But as the rim is so damaged on the right-hand side, I have to believe that he hit the wall.
Well, we'll have to check to see if we have anything back in the tape room, but you're right. A bad break right now for the 24 of Mike Conway as he is limping around. He's heading for turn number 8. Let's take a look.
Come through the turn, you can see, oh, there we go. He gets on the gas, trying to catch Tracy, because a little frustration happens when a driver passes you like that, and he just put his foot on the throttle, spun the tires, the back end comes out from underneath him, and not only did he just ruin the tire, but he's also damaged the right rear, and that's going to have some suspension damage and some camber damage, alignment damage, and if he does go back out, his car is going to go much slower.
Well, and the problem also is it's going to put him a lap down, and it basically took his chances of a top 5 and has put him out the window, as they're looking at the damage right now to see if there's any half shaft damage from the contact as well. Here comes our race leader. Alex Tagliani peels off here after running 34 laps on this load of fuel and tires. Vince?
Open pit in and open pit out. He says it's not easy coming in after missing some races because the competition is so tough, but they believe they've got the team capable of contending, and they've shown it so far from the reds to the blacks for Alex Tagliani.
And it looked like he put a full load of fuel in there. They did not short fill at all. Take a look there. You see lap traffic. That's Ed Carpenter and Dan Weldon. They are both at least 1 lap down. In fact, Carpenter is now 2 laps down.
And for Dan Weldon, his wife Susie is from Red Deer, Alberta. So a Canadian connection there. And after this race here, they are headed off to Portugal with their family to go spend some time on a vacation, and then meeting back up at Edmonton, the next Canadian race.
You're asking who the race leader is? You're looking at him. That man right there, Mario Marias, at age 20, Mr. Aggressive. And we'll talk about him when we come back after this message from our ABC stations. Let's take a look at our Iowa Corn race rundown as it started early, right at the green flag. You saw the 12 of Willpower clip Graham Rahal. He ended up with a flat and had the problem, but he managed to stay on the lead lap. Then Dario Franchitti in his first pit stop in the left rear tire. You can see him waving his hands. Cost him dearly as he lost several positions. And then it was the man on the move. Look at him. Paul Tracy in the 15 goes around Mike Conway. Then the very next lap takes care of business over Scott Dixon in the very same corner. And then a little bit later, when Mike Conway, after the last round of pit stops, tries to catch up to Paul, he tags the wall and is now behind the wall 4 laps down. And it looks like they're out of the race, Vince.
Disappointing finish for Mike Conway after having such a good run. What happened from the cockpit?
Just Paul went on the inside of me, made a good move, and as I came out of the corner, just had too much dirt on my tires, and just the rear came out, kissed the wall, and that was it.
Difficult day for Mike Conway. It had gotten off to such a good start, guys.
It is a tough break because they had a good run going. A good run going right now for the 23 of Thomas Schechter. The first laps that Schechter has led since Michigan in 2007. And he is our 4th different leader here today in Toronto. Running in second is Elio Castroneves. Jack, what's the latest?
Just about 6 or 7 laps from his pit stop, and he has a handful with that red and white car. Tim Cindric has been acting, trying to console Castroneves and telling him as bad as the car is, he needs to just hold on. They want to run the fuel load down to empty, run it as long as they can, put the Firestone Reds on, and call it an afternoon. I don't know, guys, if the Reds will sustain themselves that long.
Well, we'll find out. We saw one team that made it 30 laps on the Reds a little bit earlier.
The thing to point out, though, is that if the car is not working very well, then you're more abusive on the tires, and you might want a tire that can take that abuse, and that would be the black sidewall tires. And if he's going to put the Reds on, then he might just overwork those tires. We saw how smooth Franchitti was earlier in the race. His car certainly could use the Reds as he was doing.
Now, you're looking at Ryan Hunter-Reay. He is currently running in the 5th position. We should point out the top 9 cars, remember, they all pitted back on lap number 10. And so that's a big difference. They have 10 laps in hand, obviously, over the guys that went the distance and stayed out, like our first race leader, Dario Franchitti. For Ryan Hunter-Reay, this has just got to be a thrill to get past lap number 1. How about it, Vince?
Well, for Ryan Hunter-Reay, it's been a difficult run with A.J. Foyt. Look, you see the monkey, the stuffed monkey hanging from the pit box there in A.J. Foyt Racing Camp. That's to get the monkey off the back. It's been that kind of run for Ryan Hunter-Reay. 3 starts for Foyt before today, and 2 of those starts didn't get past the first lap. They just wanted to get to the end today, and Ryan Hunter-Reay doing a good job so far.
He certainly is, as he is 7 seconds. We were talking about those starts on the first lap. Let's take you back and show you what happened first at Iowa. And this was no fault of his own. It'll be Robert Dornbos in the number 6 spinning.
And the ABC car on the lower part of your screen, number 14, Ryan Hunter-Reay had nowhere to go. Bends the right front suspension, takes off the wing. His day was done. Then at Watkins Glen just last weekend on the start, he gets hit from behind. He gets turned into the Armco barrier. And in that scenario, he was out for the day also.
Take a look at the race lead. Those 3 cars are duking it out right now. It is Thomas Schechter, Elio Castroneves, and yes, Willpower, the man who had the problem on the very first lap, managed to stay on the lead lap, and then he got that early caution, which got him tied back into the pack of the field, and here he is running in third and closing.
He has a great race car. He has the experience. He's won here before. He's got a great team with Penske Racing. He just has to have patience. There's a long ways to go still in this race.
From the nose cam, you saw that's Marco Andretti coming into pit lane. He is in 17th position right now, and looks like a nominal stop, and he is back out. It has not been a great race weekend for the organizers of this race, Andretti Green Racing. They are the people who promote the event, and their cars, the best starting position was 17th. Here comes Thomas Schechter. The race leader has peeled off, Vince.
Thomas Schechter taking off the Firestone Reds and putting on the blacks. He told me before the race today, I feel like I've got a good car. I just got to get up in position and have a clean stops. That's a clean stop, and away he goes.
Take a look out on track. It's Paul Tracy with slower traffic. I'm sorry, it's Hideki Muto. Got my red and white mixed up there. So no battle for position there as far as the race lead is concerned.
And Marco, remember, just came out of the pit lane, so he has fresh tires on, not up to pressure, not up to temperature, and the guys are trying to be able to get around him and then take advantage of that.
A little further back, there is your new race leader, and that is Elio Castroneves. So now we have had a total of 5 different leaders and 4 lead changes, as Castroneves has Willpower filling up his mirrors, and it's Power peeling off. So Willpower is going to come in here working lap number 42. Vince, he's all yours.
And remember, Willpower had to come on lap 1 when he collided at the start with Graham Rahal, and it cut his right rear tire. They're putting on the block tires of the 12 machine, filling it up full of fuel. They have a problem on the left, on the outside front. They still cannot get the outside front tire on. That's Sean Hanrahan, the crew chief. The gun was attached, so a tough stop, a lot longer than it needed to be on the 12 of Willpower.
Yeah, it's going to cost them dearly. So this is 2 problems for him, and it's the same scenario, just a different location from Dario Franchitti.
A lot of pressure on the pit crew because they know that spaces can be made in the pit lane, so there is a lot of pressure to perform at optimum, and sometimes just that pressure makes the mistake.
All right, so right now it is Elio Castroneves still running out in front by 7 seconds over Ryan Hunter-Reay. They still have pit stops coming.
ESPN's coverage of the IndyCar Series at Toronto on ABC. Brought to you by Izod Indy, the official apparel sponsor of the IndyCar Series, and Apex Brazil, the Brazilian trade and investment promotion agency.
And that fountain is just outside of turn number 5. As you see the view from downtown, the CN Tower off in the distance. There's the racetrack, and our race leader still Elio Castroneves by 5.5 seconds over Ryan Hunter-Reay, but lurking in the background, Alex Tagliani and Paul Tracy running 3rd and 4th. And remember, they have made their stops. The first 2 need to come in again. There is Elio.
Elio just went by, and he actually put Marco Andretti a lap down. Remember, Marco had some fresh tires on, so he was trying to stay on the lead lap, but Elio did get past him.
That means we have 16 cars on the lead lap, and the next victim would be Tony Kanaan, but he is a lot further up the track, about 30 seconds, so not in danger of going a lap down. Take a look at the Firestone telemetry on Elio Castroneves and watch the gearbox, the number of changes, and then the way the speeds go up and come down.
They're going along Lakeshore Boulevard now, taking that long run down towards turn 3. Should be close to 170 miles an hour in top gear, and then hard on the brakes because you're down to first gear and about 40 miles an hour, and making a right onto Ontario Drive, making that small climb up the hill. Getting the power down, must be smooth. He's doing a great job.
And while you watch that, we'll give you an update. We've learned that Richard Antonucci's car has been taken behind the wall, so that gives 3 cars now out of the race. Robert Dornbos, Mike Conway, and Richard Antonucci. Waiting to see how far Elio Castroneves can go. Remember, he pitted on lap 10. We're past halfway. We're working lap 46 of 85. So he's been out there 36 laps on this load of fuel and tires.
And for drivers like Marco Andretti, they know that he has a pit stop coming up. So smart of Marco to let him go by. Didn't have to engage in the fight very often.
Ryan Hunter-Reay, second place, has peeled off and is into pit lane. Vince?
4 black tires and fuel for Ryan Hunter-Reay. A good clean stop for the A.J. Foyt team. By the way, A.J. Foyt wasn't happy with the way his car had been engineered this week. So A.J. told me before the race day, I just took it over myself, and I think we're going to be better in the race. And boy, they have been.
We'll find out. You're not going to argue with Super Tex. I know that. When he says it's going to be my way, it will be, or it's the highway. Taking a look at Elio Castroneves. He is still 7 seconds out in front. Danica Patrick, let's see. She's in 5th place right now, 14 seconds behind the race lead. She, too, was one of those cars that pitted back on lap 10, has yet to pit again. And we talked about that foot cam, and I'm wondering, guys, yes, there it is. I mean, look at how rough this is. Watch her feet bounce around in there.
And much different from what we saw last weekend at Watkins Glen, when the track's a lot smoother. You're in the turns for a longer period of time, but you certainly have the opportunity here to try and keep your feet on the pedals, because you do bounce around a lot, and now she's in the pit lane.
She peels off and comes down pit lane. And we'll watch to see what tires are going to go on. Remember, she started on the blacks. The reds are going on, and those look to be stickers. So she will fulfill her commitment. They're telling her to wait, and now go. So they wanted a full load of fuel.
And with those tires, we do know that they have a little bit more grip, as Graham Rahal has made his pit stop, comes out in his McDonald's machine. Remember, his dad won the inaugural race back here in 1986.
And I think he came out on the blacks. We will double check on that, but I do believe he's on the blacks. And Elio Castroneves, guys, I'm telling you, as he finally peels off. I was wondering when he was going to come in, because, I mean, he's been out there for 38 laps. Jack, he's coming your way.
And Marty, this was a strategy that they utilized right from the beginning. Remember, they started on the blacks. Firestone blacks, they came in, took fuel only. They gave them an additional pad. Now Rick Reineman on the outside front puts the brand new sticker Firestone Reds on. With the remainder of the race, this should be Elio Castroneves' last visit to pit lane. If, and I say if, the Firestone Reds can hold out. Vince?
Alex Tagliani has just radioed into his team and said, I have a flat tire. They had last pitted on lap 26, so that was 23 laps ago. So certainly they could have stayed out longer. As you see Tagliani driving the course on the left side of your screen, his crew waiting for him there on the right side. Doesn't look to be any sort of a major issue at this point, but the crew is definitely waiting on Alex Tagliani, currently in 2nd place, who's going to come in and change that flat tire, or what he believes is a flat tire.
And what happens in that situation, Vince, is that on the digital dash the drivers have, there is a threshold for tire pressure in all tires, and if a sensor goes bad, then certainly you can have that information come up in error. And as we look at the car going around, it does not seem like the tires are going down whatsoever, and sometimes you have to just cancel out the dash and go by what you feel as a driver.
Well, his last lap prior to this one was a minute 6. This was a minute 4. So maybe there is not a problem. We'll keep an eye on it. Justin Wilson, let's go to Brienne.
Justin Wilson just hit his mark. Engineer Bill Pappas calling to put on scuffed black tires, no changes on the number 18, and a clean stop for the Z-Line car.
And you mentioned Bill Pappas, and that was the one misgiving we didn't get enough credit to him last week. He has done a great job coming on board this year, helping engineer that team to its first win, and of course Justin's second win in the IndyCar Series. Meanwhile, Alex Tagliani still looks like he is okay. But Vince, what are they saying? He looks fine.
Tagliani definitely felt the car vibrating at that point, and that's what led him to believe that he had a flat. But as he went by, did not come into pit lane. The team looked at the car as it passed and said, Alex, it looks stable. Keep the hammer down. You are P1. Tagliani admitted he wasn't a very good husband last week when he was sitting at home on his couch watching the race at Watkins Glen. He said, my wife is a saint for putting up with me. I'm not a good spectator. The only people spectating now are the field watching Alex Tagliani lead this race at Toronto.
And his last lap was 1:03.6 seconds. Second place, Paul Tracy, was 1:03.8. So he is pulling a little distance on second place after 50 of 85 laps. Major League Baseball's best sluggers swing for the fences tomorrow night on ESPN. Albert Pujols headlines the field competing in the 09 State Farm Home Run Derby live from Busch Stadium. Other slammers include Adrian Gonzalez, Ryan Howard, and Prince Fielder. Who owns the night? The 2009 State Farm Home Run Derby on ESPN Monday at 8 Eastern. Back here on the streets of Toronto, you can see the number 12 of Willpower right behind the 23 of Thomas Schechter. That is a battle for 8th on the track. We'll tell you Alex Tagliani has a 2.2 second lead over Paul Tracy as the Canadians are running 1-2 again in their home country.
In this battle between Schechter and Power, both of them are on the same race strategy, as Power now seems to come in for what will probably be a change of set of tires. Vince Welch.
Well, remember Willpower on that flat right rear on the first lap collision with Graham Rahal. Well, you've got to run the red stickers at least 2 laps. So the team had to go get approval from the IndyCar Series officials to get an additional right red tire so they could actually run the tires 2 laps. That's the set they just put back on. The 3 tires that they had run 1 lap, and then the new tire that was granted to them by the IndyCar Series.
Would you be worried about the balance there, driver?
No, I think the balance would be fine because those other tires were not run all that much. But the scenario was it looked like he might have been able to make it to the end if there was another yellow just on the fuel strategy. You mentioned that he and Schechter seem to be on the same strategy at that point in time, so this could work out for him or could cost him. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, you can see there's the numbers on Alex Tagliani. He pitted last on lap 34, so he does have to come one more time. But he won't need a full tank. Same story with the man in second place, Paul Tracy. Behind them, about another 3 seconds, is Scott Dixon. And there is Dixon. And Mario Marias a little bit further back for 4th. And Dario Franchitti, all because of that costly pit stop, finds himself trying to fight his way back from 5th. And he has been locked in this battle with Marias for several laps now.
And it is tough to pass here. We talked about that before. Even though you may be a little quicker than the car in front, because you have so many twists and turns here at Toronto, it's difficult to be able to make a pass. They've set up points, turn 8 where they're headed towards right now, and then also turns 1 and 3. But as you start to see all the rubber starting to form on the outside of the racing line, that's the rubber marbles that are coming off the tires themselves just from normal wear. And so you really have to be cautious and stay on your line and make sure you don't take a pass in the area where it may find yourself in those marbles and end up running off into the wall.
And we called Mario Marias Mr. Aggressive a little bit earlier when he had the race lead, as we see right there, the 11 and the 13 going after it. That's Tony Kanaan and EJ Viso. That's for 15th on the racetrack. That's right. That's how far back Tony finds himself. And Viso, as you heard earlier from Vince, hasn't finished 7 total races. So just finishing has been a victory for this team lately. Meanwhile, there is Paul Tracy, 1.3 seconds behind Alex Tagliani, and we're hearing he may come to pit lane this time by. Heading down through turn 7. This is turn number 8. Very rough, very fast, and it's been very damaging to a number of cars over the weekend. And Tracy is peeling off and heading for pit lane. So Vince, he's coming your way.
Paul Tracy said there's always a lot of pressure to do well here in Toronto. He's faced it his whole life, but he has come from the back of the field and was running second before this pit stop. They're having a little trouble on the rear tires, not quite as quick as they would have liked. Fuel goes in, red stickers for the 15 of Paul Tracy. They're good to the end.
Boy, 11.2 seconds. We have seen so many rough pit stops today where the guys just haven't gotten the tires on.
And it's the pressure, as I mentioned before, on the crew, because there's much pressure on them as it is the drivers to perform. And for Paul Tracy, that extra couple of seconds, we'll see where this shakes out when everybody stops to do their final pit stop. But if it's behind a couple of cars in front, if anybody can get past them, we've seen Paul do it all day. He just might be the man on the move.
Well, the big question now is, when does our race leader, that man right there, Alex Tagliani, come in for his pit stop? His last stop was on lap 34. We're working lap 57. Well, we got a quick glimpse of the cars coming through. That was Marias. And we keep trying to talk about Mr. Aggressive, because you and I had a wonderful conversation with Jimmy Vasser. And I said, hey, what are you doing to calm this guy down? I mean, he's driving the wheels off, and then he's, you know, crashing out. I loved what he said.
And Jimmy just simply said, I'd rather have to try and slow him down than try to get him going. And for a driver that's only 20 years old with, you know, reasonable experience, but I think overall, Mario Marias has the talent, he has the ability, and Vince Welsh, he just needs to have a little patience here and there.
Well, consider this, Scott. He's just 20 years old. And to put that youth in perspective, Elio Castroneves has turned nearly 30,000 race laps in his career. Mario Marias has turned 3,500. That's a big difference. You look at the race winners over the last couple of years, their average age about 32. Marias is 20, so at the inexperience, the age difference, I'd say patience is one thing that you would almost give him a floater on, understanding that he's probably not going to be as patient as you would hope at the age of 20, but boy, you can't teach speed, and this kid has got it. Mario Marias, when he does settle down, he's going to be a tough one to beat.
Oh, and trouble out on the course as the 0-2, Graham Rahal, as Dario Franchitti comes into pit lane. He had already committed to pit lane. I think he will be allowed to complete his stop. Jack?
All right, what they tried to do is they wanted to have him drive through. We're going to have to wait and see. They're going to change the tires and take fuel, and he is okay. The officials had said before the yellow came out, he had committed to pit road, so his stop under the yellow is complete, no penalty.
And a huge break. If he does not get that break, his race is over. Now let's go back and see what happened to Graham Rahal.
Graham is in the back of your screen there in the 0-2 McDonald's car. Sneaks on the inside of Ed Carpenter. Ed didn't know that he was there. Ed had made a room for a couple of other cars going through there, but Ed did not see Graham Rahal coming through. And this is a little different than ovals, which is really the background for Ed Carpenter. You have a spotter up in the ovals, Marty, as we talked about before, and the spotters tell that there's 2 cars or 3 cars there. But in this scenario, Ed Carpenter did not know that he was there. Graham properly went for the space, and it was taken up on him.
You saw Dad Bobby Rahal looking on, the 1986 winner here. And they always talk about, remember, the second man through. The problem is there was 3 coming through, because there is second, Danica Patrick, and oops, I forgot about that third guy. Here's what Danica's view looked like.
Now you see, diving in through the turn. Danica looks behind, and off you go.
And Bobby just shakes his head. It's the 3rd DNF by a crash this year for Graham Rahal. And every time we think he's going to have that breakthrough race this year, like he had it last year at St. Petersburg, but it just doesn't seem to happen.
Remember his frustration last weekend at Watkins Glen? It was with his own teammate, Robert Dornbos, where he was very vocal on the radio. So frustration comes in all different levels, and especially when you want to run strong here at Toronto. Should be a good event for him, not happening. And then the next one here at Edmonton, he'll look to rebound over there.
Our 3rd caution for 6 laps so far, and you can see the field forming up behind the pace car. We have a total now of 16 cars on the lead lap, Marco Andretti being 16th. Our race leader is Alex Tagliani, and he will definitely be pitting because it has been 25 laps since his last stop. Scott Dixon, it's been 30 laps since his last stop, and really what this means, with 25 laps to go, everybody's going to be good to go to the finish after this one. So now it's going to be up to who gets out fast and who can drive the wheels off.
Well, the advantage right now for guys that don't have to stop, or for like guys like Paul Tracy and Dario Franchitti that just had their stops recently. So those guys will be the leaders after this, and this will be interesting to see where Dixon comes out, because remember, he's at the very front of the queue over here in pit lane.
Well, Elio Castroneves stopped back on lap 48. Ryan Hunter-Reay on 46, Tracy at 56, Franchitti on 58. As we documented, he came in just as the yellow came out. All right, here comes Alex Tagliani. Vince?
Alex Tagliani. He's been second here. He's been third here. Today, he felt like was a good chance to be first here. They're taking off the blacks and they're putting on sticker blacks. Fuel to the end, Jackaroo.
Scott Dixon hits his marks under caution. Ricky Davis will lead the team as they go to the Firestone Blacks for their final pit stop. They fill the tank full of fuel. The drag race across the line. Due to his pit position, he came across the line first, guys.
All right, let's take a look at the Apex Brazil race off pit road. And boy, that pit position was so critical for Scott Dixon as he picks up one, tags, loses one. It's the most prestigious championship in the game. Defending champ Patrick Harrington, Tiger Woods, and the world's best return to the birthplace of golf. The Open Championship on ABC, Saturday, July 18th at 9 a.m. Eastern. And the final round coverage is Sunday, July 19th at 8 a.m. Eastern. And boy, what a beautiful view we have as you look at the CN Tower. Little trivia note, Paul Tracy's father owns a painting company. That painting company was hired to paint that tower. And believe it or not, his father hung in a basket from a helicopter and actually did some of the work himself.
That is called bravery. They say brave people drive race cars. I think brave people hang from a helicopter and paint the CN Tower.
You ain't getting me up there, baby, I'll tell you. Okay, Paul's running third right now. You're asking who's first and second? Well, it's Elio Castroneves, Dario Franchitti, Paul Tracy, Ryan Briscoe, Justin Wilson, Danica Patrick. That's your top six. Pace car has pulled off. Here comes your race leader, Castroneves, around turn 11. Gets a little power slide.
And watch Tracy. He certainly wants to try and get a good start. Looks like he has spun the tires back there in turn 11.
Yeah, look at Ryan Briscoe. Briscoe gets underneath Hideki Muto, who is lap traffic. Justin Wilson was not as fortunate, though. He got blocked off.
Now Castroneves and Tracy are on the red tires. Franchitti is on the regular black sidewall tires. Let's see how this works out for the first couple of laps.
All right, that's Justin Wilson in the background getting around Hideki Muto. Does Danica Patrick get around her teammate? Does he give her the room? Does he give her the room? Yes.
She takes the room. She just barges in there and moves him over.
So Danica's now under attack from Willpower as Power is in 7th position. There you see EJ Vizo. Hideki Muto must feel like a ping pong ball right now.
And it's terrible when your car doesn't have traction or does not have the grip. You are just in the way and you feel it, and it's a terrible situation.
Muto is the first car, 1 lap down in 17th.
But this is when you have to get on the gas, because in this scenario right now, this is the time to make up time to the person in front. Castroneves is just trying to gain some light in between him and Franchitti.
Well, right there you see Paul Tracy, and Vince, you've caught up with his team owner.
Head of Dario Franchitti, and the series told you to let Dario by. What was the reasoning you were given?
Well, Dario made it in the pit lane when it went yellow, and so we went by him while he was in his pit box, servicing his car. But because it went yellow, I've never seen such a rule like that. You know, we packed up and easily went by Dario. He was sitting in the pit box. I guess they say because timing and scoring was frozen, that we had to let him back by. But then under that train of thought, anybody who stalls on the track and it goes yellow, they get their space back, right? I'm flabbergasted, but Paul's doing a great job for the Wounded Warriors here this weekend and Ontario Honda dealers, and we got a little bit of race left to go, so.
You hear the frustration, Jack Arute, in the voice of Jimmy Vasser.
Vince, let me add to the frustration, but some quick thinking on the part of Team Ganassi for Dario Franchitti. He had committed and was coming down pit road when the yellow lights came on. His team thought they were going to wave him through so that he didn't get penalized. And generally, what the tech officials will do is close their fist and say the pits are closed. But as Dario Franchitti came to his pit stall, the pit tech raised his thumb up, saying that he had already made the line before the yellow came out. And now we've got the battle for the lead, and it pays off for Franchitti in spades. The guy that he just passed is trying to nurse his tires. He's on the reds. Franchitti's on the Firestone primary blacks.
So we have our 6 lead changes. You were finishing up, Jack, and Dario Franchitti, and the reason we're being told there is a line, an electronic line in the pavement, and that is what signals what the position is at that moment when the yellow comes out. So that's the definition from race control, but I'm sure that's not going to please Jimmy Vasser or Paul Tracy.
No, that certainly doesn't, but I'm watching right now Elio Castroneves. He is nursing his car, cannot put the power down coming out of the turns, and right now Tracy's right behind him, and he's going to hold Tracy up just just a little bit. Tracy's goal, I need to get past Castroneves because I don't want Franchitti to make too much space in between the two of us.
I mean, he has got more problems since he has gone to the red tires here than he did when he was on the blacks. I mean, he is struggling to keep power and grip.
Well, they are a softer tire, and sometimes when you put them on, it does change the balance of the car. And so maybe he's got a bit of understeer, it looked like there a little bit. Then he couldn't get the power down. He's not carrying the speed through the turns. It might get better as he starts to run more laps on the tire. But right now, he has to fend off the charge from Paul Tracy.
Well, look at this. In the last lap, Dario Franchitti was 2 seconds faster. And here goes Tracy trying to dive bomb the corner. Does he make it? They have contact. Now returning. Oh, they stuff each other. They take each other out of the race. Neither one would give.
Well, you knew when Tracy's beside you, he is not going to take his foot off the gas. He had the inside line, thought it was his, and Paul Tracy is a Charger. There is no way he was going to take his foot off the gas.
There is Elio as he is apparently still able to drive. I'm amazed he's still able to get around the track.
Oh, no, but his rear suspension is bent. You can see the car right now. It's dog tracking, as we call it, so he's actually got some damage to the A-arms.
Vince, let's send it your way.
Jimmy Vasser had just gotten on the radio a few moments ago and told Paul Tracy, be smart. We've got a lot of racing to do. He emphasized be smart, indicating we've got to be patient. We're going to have opportunities, but you got to wonder as you look at Jimmy Vasser there if he thinks that was the smartest move to make at that particular time.
Well, and you're going to be questioning Elio Castroneves. He's in a championship chase, and he's into the pits, Jack.
Elio Castroneves, front end damage and rear suspension on the inside rear. He is going to call it an afternoon. He's taken the steering wheel off, put it on the side pods, and a real gamble on the part of Tim Cindric as it applied to using the reds, and the tires have begun to go away. Oh. We'll get a word from Elio Castroneves.
And listen to the crowd booing. Their Canadian favorite just got taken out, and they are letting Elio know that they're not happy.
He might take some security personnel with him on the way back to the garage area.
Vince, let's check in with you again.
Well, Jimmy Vasser, Jimmy, I was just relaying that you had communicated with Paul on the radio to be smart, and I know that that patience is something that's tough when you're in the cockpit. You've been there before, too. Would you have liked to have seen him maybe exercise a little more patience there, or was that the time to make the move on Elio?
Well, Paul's a great champion, a lot of race wins, and he's exciting, so I'm never going to second-guess his moves in the car. He looked like he, you know, it was close. You know, he had a good position on Elio, and looked like Elio squeezed him over a bit. Might have been a racing thing, but you know, all credit to the guys here on the team. They did a fantastic job, and it's been just very, very disappointing. You know, still not sure how a guy on pit lane can retain his space on the track. But maybe I'm not smart, and they'll tell me why.
Jimmy Vasser, you can see that that position change is still stuck in his craw, guys, even after the Tracy accident.
Well, and if that position change doesn't occur, he's not in that predicament with Elio Castroneves, so that's why it goes back to him. Let's get the other end of this story, Jack.
Well, Elio Castroneves finishing his conversation with Tim Cindric about that altercation with Paul Tracy. Elio, your version of what just happened?
Honestly, I need to see the replay. I have no idea. He would be the last guy that I would have taken out here in Canada, obviously. I thought I gave enough room for this guy, you know, plenty of room, this guy. But, you know, Tracy and I had something, it's always going to be like that. Look, he came in, he touched me, and then I don't know why he's, it looks like I turned into him, but what happened is his car touch, and I just lost control. I mean, I would have never do anything like that. I mean, especially for this guy in Canada, you know.
Yeah, you can hear the boos, can't you?
Yeah, I think what happened is just probably slide it out, and I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, you can hear those boos. I mean, I still love Canada. Don't get me wrong.
Have you ever been booed before, Elio?
No, I guess not. But this might be a sign that you know, it's the way it is. I mean, people hate you, people love you, and especially what happened in Indianapolis in 2002. So I'm sure those guys gonna go and well, hopefully trust me, guys, it wasn't. I had no idea why, but I would have given that one.
You know, I hadn't thought about it, guys, but shades of Tracy and Castroneves in 2002. There are long memories with Canadians, aren't there?
Well, it's long memories for anybody who's a fan of open wheel racing. And just in case you're not been around that long, what happened was the yellow comes out. Paul at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway felt that he was ahead, and they put him back a position. Elio ends up getting the win. That started all that. Let's hear from Paul.
Well, Paul, we just heard Elio Castroneves' explanation of the incident. How about from your perspective?
I don't know. It's hard to say. We were racing really hard. He was saving fuel and coasting at the end of the back straightaway. I made a move down the inside pretty easily. He gave me some room, and I got in there, and he gave me enough room, and then we touched, and then he kind of moved over a little bit there, and then we both hooked up wheels. I'm not going to say he did it on purpose, but I think it's just a racing incident. I wanted to get by and keep touch with Dario, and I felt that we kind of got screwed by having to let Dario go by. He was in the pit lane when I was still on the track, but I just got to thank Honda and thank Wounded Warriors and everybody involved, all the personal sponsors that we've had over the last few months with Geico and Monster and everybody that's helped us get to here. I think I've shown that I can run with these guys now, so just a sad way to the end of the day, but I guess that's why they call me the Thrill, right?
Indeed. Thrilling for the fans here in Toronto to watch that one today. Marty.
All right, thanks, guys. So neither one really throwing stones at either one, but if you look at the replay, the contact of the two front wheels does jerk the wheel out of Elio's hands. Keep an eye on this second set of contact right here. Bam. And it just jerks the wheel out of his hands, and it's one of those racing deals. We're going to go side by side. We got a bit of a mess to clean up here, but the race is not over, and unfortunately, the Canadians are not going to give in on this one. They think their guy got the short end. "15 laps to go here on the streets of Toronto." You saw the start, courtesy of side by side, and on the restart, Dario Franchitti opens up about a 3/10 of a second lead over Ryan Briscoe. Justin Wilson, last week's winner's third, and oh no, and Tony Kanaan has damage to the left rear.
Not a great weekend for Tony Kanaan or a lot of the AGR team through practice and qualifying, although Danica Patrick right now is running up in 5th.
And contact between Justin Wilson and the 6 of Ryan Briscoe, and I'm wondering if anybody cut a tire on this one. Here is Willpower as he is on the move. He's already gotten around Danica Patrick. He's going to try it.
170 miles an hour.
Justin's going to have to give, and Danica's right underneath. Here we go. Things are getting dicey. They have contact, and Wilson holds the spot.
A very nice move, though, by Danica to make sure she was trying to take advantage when Willpower dove on the inside of Wilson.
Remember when Willpower was almost a lap down after lap 1? Here he is in 3rd place. And Danica Patrick, who was nowhere to be found, here she is with Scott Dixon trying to catch up to her, getting around E.J. Viso. That is for position. Dixon moves up to 6th, Viso to 7th. He set sights on Danica. And Danica's car really was junk all weekend.
And that's why I said in practice and qualifying, they didn't have a great weekend. But she has really come on strong here in the races right now. Dixon's going to start to look to set her up coming through turns 1 and 2. Back on the gas here. He just looked like he just kissed the wall just a small amount, trying to get the power down to get that run down here on Lakeshore Boulevard. He does not seem close enough.
He did brush the wall. I saw the tire marks left behind. While all this is going on, here he goes, diving in. Oh, and contact behind him. It's Mario Moraes and E.J. Viso. It looks like both are going to survive, but it's going to be a local yellow, at least for now. And there, Dixon gets around Danica.
He takes advantage of everything going on. And for E.J. Viso, these cars do not have reverse and do not have an onboard starter, so he'll have to get a push back from the tire wall.
So Danica slides back to now 6th position. Dixon up to 5th. Meanwhile, it's Dario Franchitti by 2 seconds as the Delphi safety team tries and turn the 13 around. They'll get him fired and get him underway.
They have to get that car out of the way. It's at the end of the backstretch. Remember, those cars will come down Lakeshore Boulevard, where they're about ready to enter right now at 170 miles an hour, even under a local yellow. Very risky for the Delphi safety crew to be out there.
There is the safety crew. Looks like they got the job done. Take a look. There is Scott Dixon. He was trying to take a look underneath Justin Wilson in the 18. On board now with Willpower.
Great acceleration here through 5, now through 6. Jack Arute, this is turning up to be a real battle here with these gurus.
And it's interesting because right now for Ryan Briscoe, Roger Penske has alerted him to the man that we're riding on board with being directly behind him. And what he told his driver, Ryan Briscoe, is don't worry, now you've got a teammate behind you. He can give you some help. Not quite sure what kind of help he can give Ryan Briscoe, unless, of course, it's just making it more difficult for Scott Dixon to pass.
Well, without a doubt, maybe that might be the case, Marty, but if I'm Willpower and I'm only running a few races a year for Roger Penske aboard the Penske racing machine, I want to be in front of my teammates.
Let's get an update on Willpower from Vince Welch.
No team orders on this group, you can be sure of it. And is there a driver that's seen more of the field today than Willpower? He started second, then suffered that flat tire on contact with Graham Rahal on the first lap, went all the way to the back of the field, and now look at him running third behind Franchitti and Briscoe. Willpower, part-time gig for Penske Racing, but he says it's still the best opportunity of his career.
No,
we got another incident on the track.
We got Alex Tagliani involved in this in the 34, the 5 of Mario Moraes again, and the 23 of Thomas Schechter. And we have our another caution, now our 5th. And again, that is turn number 3. Moraes was able to get restarted. Couldn't tell us.
Does have damage on the front of the car. You can see the front nose is broken.
Let's go back and see what happens.
Oh, and Alex Tagliani comes in and basically is the bowling ball in the bowling alley as he turns around and just starts punting Mary Moraes, who then goes into Thomas Schechter.
Well, Moraes hustles around, and you're right, Schechter got the short end of that one, and he had nothing to do with it. He was just the victim. A little over-aggressiveness on Tagliani's part as he was kamikazeing into the turn.
Moraes, he'll wait until the pits are open. Right now, he's going to pack up behind the group that he's chasing. And then once he catches them and the pits are open, then he'll go in to repair his car.
10 laps remaining here at Toronto.
And what this does, Marty, gives Ryan Briscoe another shot at Dario Franchitti. He's going to have to get him on the start because there is no doubt that Franchitti has a faster race car at this point. A little bit more grip coming out of the turns. He certainly seems like he's putting the power down. So overall, he's going to have to do it on the restart.
Well, the pits are open, but we're told that, of course, the leaders will not be coming. Look at Thomas Schechter. He is not thrilled with Alex Tagliani. So there you see, with 10 laps to go, the top 10 across the top of your screen. And we'll go side by side. We'll be back to head for the checkered flag here in Toronto.
ESPN's coverage of the IndyCar Series at Toronto on ABC. Brought to you by the Boost Mobile Monthly Unlimited Plan and Honda, the engine supplier for the IndyCar Series.
Well, it's a lot calmer out on Lake Ontario than it is the streets of Toronto right now, as a lot of tempers are flaring as we are late in the race. Let's take a look at our Firestone Lap Leaders. We've had 5 different leaders, 7 lead changes, and the 2 bonus points go to Dario Franchitti, and he is going to pick up the points lead if everything holds station, because Dixon will be 4 behind unless things change here in the last 8 laps. Go back to the tempers flaring, and this was Thomas Schechter. This isn't the first time we've seen him hurl the gloves.
No, he is just so mad at Alex Tagliani here, but visions of Texas quite a few years ago. He breaks free from the Delphi official, points to his helmet, says, "Are you using your head?" Then he goes off and throws his gloves. I don't know, gloves are about $250 a set. So
yeah, but the helmet's more expensive. Helmet's a lot more expensive. All right, let's reset it for you. You got Dario Franchitti Ryan Briscoe, Willpower, Justin Wilson, Scott Dixon, Danica Patrick, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Marco Andretti. That is your top 8.
There's a lot going on here because obviously Briscoe wants to get past Franchitti. It seems like Dixon has been strong, so he's going to try and make a move on Wilson. And Willpower, will he have anything to offer up?
Well, they're coming through 9-10, and boy, the first 2 are out, and where's Willpower?
Oh, that just should not be.
He's nowhere to be found in this mix, which holds up everybody else as well, and Dario gets another great start. A lot of passing and dicing going on further back in the field. That is Alex Tagliani. No, it was the 13 of EJ Vizo.
On those restarts, Marty, you know what's going to happen. The pace car is coming off. You're told on the radio that's what's going to happen. Your nose should be right up the gearbox, the driver in front, and your foot should be on the pedal that you're almost hitting him when you come down to those last couple of turns in the restart.
Well, last time we saw Scott Dixon get it pretty aggressive and pick up a couple of spots. Can he do it again with last week's winner, Justin Wilson, right in front of him? 7 laps remaining here on the streets of Toronto. While these guys continue through turn number 8, we've got our weekly question from Boost Mobile Mailbag, asking our analysts. And if you want to ask a question, just go to ESPN.com. Keyword is Ask the Analyst. Here it is from Brian in Warminster, Pennsylvania. What are the most challenging differences between the road and street course circuits?
Well, we just came off a beautiful road circuit at Watkins Glen, New York. Very smooth in most cases and very flowing circuit with long turns. You spend a lot of time in those turns, and it's just nice to be out in the countryside. Here on the street circuit like we have here in Toronto, you go down a real canyon of concrete on both sides, as we see right here. Very bumpy, as we've documented today, and a lot of confrontation areas, as we're seeing right now, between Dixon and Wilson, as we saw this earlier today between Castroneves and Tracy. But the street courses as we have them, very bumpy, very demanding, no room for error because of the concrete wall.
That was a heck of a move by Scott Dixon. That's the first time we've seen somebody on the outside hold that position through the corner and then complete the pass, actually going through the next left-hander.
But that's also give and take, Marty. You have to give and take throughout the turn. You know that you've been beat for the turn, and in that scenario, just a good, clean move by a gentleman driver.
Well, we've caught up with Thomas Schechter, Vince.
Thomas, we saw your frustration in throwing the gloves at Alex. What was, from your perspective, how did that situation unfold?
It was just a stupid move way too late in the race. Just someone, you could see the way he was driving before he was going to get in a crash. And, you know, Morais had broken a wing in front of us. We had a tough race. We were leading for a while. And we just did a great job by the Montevideo crew. But, I mean, just a non-brain move right at the end. And, you know, just to hit me up the back there when someone's got a front wing broken, I'm making a pass on someone who's got nowhere to go, you know, got stuck in the fence towards the end.
Sour end to the day for several drivers in that situation, guys.
Well, Morais did get a new wing. He is out there. He is the last car on the lead lap in 11th position. But right now we're watching Scott Dixon because he's got the best battle on the racetrack, because he's trying to overtake Willpower for 3rd place. Dario Franchitti's lead, will let you know, is 1.8 seconds over Ryan Briscoe. And we will have 5 laps to go now here at Toronto. Heading down into turn number 1, there is Scott Dixon. Jack, you've got more?
Yeah, Marty, remember I told you about the transmission that Roger Penske made to Ryan Briscoe, about he had a teammate that could help him in Willpower in the 12? Well, they monitor everything here. Teams monitor each other, and it didn't take long for Mike Hull to hear exactly the same thing. And during the caution period, to tell Scott Dixon exactly that. He also cautioned Dixon, be careful.
Well, but I sort of agree with Scott from the standpoint of Will is got a 5-race package here, 4 more after this one. He's not going to do anything stupid, but he sure as heck wants to put on a great performance.
And Will certainly is not in the points battle right now, and Scott Dixon is. So that great information coming from Mike Hall from Target Chip Ganassi, telling his driver, Scott Dixon, be cautious. And he knows what that message means. Be cautious. You're in a points battle. It's better to finish in 4th than it would be being taken out of the race.
Well, and of course, it was a big week for Scott after Watkins Glen. He barely made it back home in time for wife Emma to give birth to Poppy. And there they are, the happy family. And oh, isn't she sweet? Dad says he's doing fine. He's getting some sleep. Can't say the same for Emma. And says Poppy sleeps an awful lot. Congratulations. Right now, that's not what he's thinking about. He's thinking about trying to get around that bright yellow machine right in front of him of Willpower, and the laps are winding down. Next time by, there will be 2 circuits on this 1 3/4 mile street course here in Toronto.
It just looks like Scott Dixon in the target machine cannot get the power down like his teammate Ken that's running out front right now. And that's something that has to happen here at a street course like Toronto. You have to be able to get the power down to get the launch coming out of the turn, to be able to get a run on somebody going down the straightaway so you can draft them and pop on the inside of them going down to the turn to hopefully get that pass completed.
While all this goes on, you've got to tip your hat to Dario Franchitti and that entire Target Chip Ganassi team. Remember, they had the pit stop problem on the left rear. Here he is, doesn't panic, fights his way back through, and now has a 2.1 second lead with 2 laps remaining. And quite frankly, unless something bizarre happens, he's in control.
Well, it's patience when things go wrong. It's the team being calm. It's the driver being calm. And he certainly knows, as his wife Ashley looks on the right-hand side, that he has the opportunity in his hands right now to win this event. So it's now being smooth, hitting your marks, and not making the mistakes. And we see all those pieces of rubber on the outside of the circuit, outside the driving line. He knows he needs to stay right in the middle of the road and stay away from those.
Well, he won earlier this year at Long Beach, where he led the most laps in that race. He's led the most laps today as he comes towards the white flag. 1 3/4 miles from victory as Dario Franchitti, who also won on the oval at Iowa, looks to move back into the points championship lead if he can just negotiate this layout one more time. That's Ryan Briscoe in second. In third is Willpower. Scott Dixon is fourth. Justin Wilson fifth, and Danica Patrick in sixth.
Dario has one win here before, back in '99, so a decade ago. It's going to work out for him. He'll start to enjoy Canada.
Makes his way through turn 6. Fast streak down past turn 7. The always treacherous turn number 8. And there's just a few more to go. Dario Franchitti, despite the disastrous pit stop, is going to come back, pick up his 11th career win in the IndyCar Series, his 21st in open wheel racing, and his 2nd here at Toronto. Already on the cool-down lap, Ryan Briscoe goes by and salutes. You see the unofficial results of the top 10. There's Marias in 11th. He was the last car on the lead lap. Jack, let's send it your way.
Ashley, I want to know what went through your mind when there was the miscue on that pit stop, because you always seem to be so calm and collected down on pit road.
Well, I was a bit of a texting fiend today. I've been texting my sister and my cousin, and I even went to the porta pot. I had to do something. I figure whatever's going to happen is going to happen whether I'm watching or not.
When we've talked before and you watched it today, the calm, cool, collected Dario Franchitti in that miscue, on the radio, nothing was said, just everybody went back to work.
And he loves to work Toronto. This is absolutely his, I would say, for sentimental as well as for technical reasons, it's his favorite track. And I definitely want to say hi to Rick and Donna Moore and all our friends in Maple Ridge. And it is so special to win in Canada, and it's a huge race for the championship. When Dario lost the championship in '99 on a tiebreaker, he had more podiums, but Montoya had more wins, and a win is huge.
All right, let's go victory. Go to victory lane. Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks a lot, Jack, as there is our race winner, and his next stop will be the Izod Victory Lane, and we'll go there right after this message from our ABC station. Well, back in 1958, Richard Petty made his first start in a Sprint Cup Series car right here on a 3rd-mile track right in this location. And here we are, 51 years later, celebrating another victory, as here comes Dario Franchitti in our Izod Victory Lane.
Dario Franchitti accepting congratulations from his crew and celebrating his second win here at Long Beach and his third victory this season. Dario, how did you come back from the pit stop issue?
I guess we timed it right with strategy. We really struggled that first stint towards the end. I'd used up the reds, and I was struggling. And I got stuck behind some really slow cars during that middle stint. Marias in particular didn't do the same thing twice at any corner, so I just was trying to stay out of his way, but I couldn't get past him. And then we came in just as it went yellow, and that managed to get us up close to the front, passed a couple of cars, got in the lead, and then on the restarts I was able to take off a target car, which was really fast on the restart. So that helped us, and then here we are. So 10 years since we first won here, and it feels good.
Your team owner, Chip Ganassi, at home recuperating from some eye surgery. What's it mean to be able to come back to Canada, get a win, and maybe give him a little gift as well?
As I said before, I spent a lot of time racing against the target cars and racing against Chip and finishing behind them at this track. So, you know, I want to thank Chip. Chip gave me a big chance to come back here and drive for this great team. And yeah, thanks, boss. It's cool.
A popular win here in Toronto. Dario Franchitti, once again, the points leader in the IndyCar Series, Brienne.
Well, Vince, I've caught up with Ryan Briscoe. Ryan, 5 out of the last 6 races you have finished in second position. Obviously, that's great for the points championship, but is it frustrating yet?
A little bit, but you know, we'll definitely take a second on a day like this. You know, we were struggling a lot in qualifying. It's just so competitive at the moment on these road courses and street courses, and I was learning the track, but car felt really good today. We were able to make some good passes and come through the field. I got a cut tire at the beginning, which set us way back, but some good strategy. I think Franchitti got a bit lucky actually on one of those yellows. If it was me, usually this year we'd get the pit close sign and have to pit twice, but they got away with it. But you know, second place is definitely good on a day like this.
You guys made it a very exciting race to watch. How would you grade the first race here at Toronto?
I mean, I can only say what happened from my point of view, and there was lots of passing, which is great. I think definitely on these tracks you need a long straight with a heavy braking zone, and this track really provided a lot of action. Maybe a few too many accidents, but you know, I guess that's part of the challenge, trying to keep out of the wall.
A solid finish for Briscoe, Marty.
Yeah, Ryan mentioned the crashes. We have 8 cars that did not finish the race, as the celebration is going to continue quite a while down on the front straightaway here on the streets of Toronto. And a kiss from wife Ashley Judd, as we'll take a look at the points championship chase, because Dario has moved back in to the points lead by only 2 over his target Chip Ganassi teammate Scott Dixon. Third place is Ryan Briscoe, who is 13 markers back. And then fourth place is Elio Castroneves, 78 markers behind. And fifth is Danica Patrick, 81 markers behind. We've still got a lot more to do here at Toronto. We'll talk to several other drivers. Stay with us. Major League Baseball best slugger swing for the fences tomorrow night on ESPN. Albert Pujols headlines a field competing in the 2009 State Farm Home Run Derby, live from Busch Stadium. Who will own the night? It is the 2009 State Farm Home Run Derby on ESPN Monday at 8 Eastern. And as the celebration continues, let's check in on third place, Willpower. He's with Jack Arute.
And Marty, I think Vince Welch, our partner, said it best. Will, you probably passed more cars than anybody with the altercation in the early going, and you just found out the reason why you had to make the extra pit stop was because of the red tire rule.
Yeah, I had no idea. I didn't realize, I hadn't made 2 laps, so it was a good choice. The reds were really good at the end, and you know, I was very happy to get back to third after being almost a lap down.
What about what Roger Penske said to you as he came up and you got out of the car? Because I know that you're looking at this season as a season of opportunity for you. What did he say to you?
Oh, he just said good job. I'm sure he's going to say more when I get back in the bus. But you know, it's a good job for Ryan to get up to second. Yeah, that's what we want for the championship for him, and really good for me to be third.
Marty, I haven't seen this guy smile like this since Indianapolis. He's back in the cockpit. That'll break out a smile, won't it?
Yes, it certainly will, and he deserves to be back in that cockpit. He does a fine job, and he has done very well since coming on board with Team Penske. Now, this is what happened after the checkered flag. This is down the straightaway, heading for turn 3. That's Marias getting into the 13 of E.J. Vizo.
The thing that's amazing to me, Marty, is that I don't understand why they're still at a strong pace once the checkered flag goes. This track is so abusive and physical. Usually you're happy to slow down. But as you can see, Marias just gets on the inside of him and locks wheels, almost like the Tracy and Elio Castroneves incident, and those guys went into the wall. Vince Welsh?
Well, Mario Marias, how about your explanation of what you saw in the incident with the EJ Viso, and maybe even take us back to some of the incidents on the track you guys had before the accident?
Well, I feel so sorry for the boys from the 1800 Tequila car, because the car was great. You know, we had been doing a great race, and then I was trying to overtake Viso. I think he was one lap down, and he was blocking everyone on the track, and I was side by side with him, and then in the break for turn 3, and he broke my front wing. And after the checkered flag, I was coming back to the pits, and he saw me, and he just closed the door to broke my car. You know, it's a shame.
How about the racing in general? You mentioned maybe some of the blocking you thought Viso might have been doing on the track. How about just the racing throughout the laps this afternoon?
Oh, the car was great, you know, and well, it was not just Viso during the race. You know, a lot of drivers have been blocking. And I don't know what we do in the drivers' meeting, because everybody says it's not nice block, it's not legal, and you're going to be penalized, and nobody get penalized.
Mario Marias had a good run today, guys, and he's coming strong, Brianne.
Well, Vince, let's get the other side of that story. EJ, you had a chance to see the replay. First, let's get your side. What did you see happen out there?
Well, it's very clear. I think the images talk by themselves. He just hit me once. I got a puncture into corner 3 in the braking. He just came, like, brake very late. He could have, I mean, he didn't respect my line. He just came in my back and he hit me. Then the second one was the most idiot one. The race was over. I was opening my visor. I was drinking water, and suddenly he hit me in the back. I mean, I don't know what he's thinking about. I don't know if he didn't see the checkered flag or what, but he needs to go to the doctors.
Well, Marias actually said he thought that you were a lap down and he was trying to overtake you to gain a position on the track. What do you say to that?
The race was over. The race was over. I mean, he's not going to find anything with that. The race was over. There were the marshals in the track with all the flags. Everything was over.
Frustrating and unnecessary finish for these guys, Marty.
Well, and I have a feeling Brian Barnhart and his crew are going to be looking at this, and there's going to be a couple of guys maybe getting a conversation or two as he's not going to want to see this happen anymore, especially after a checkered flag. We have got to step aside, but we're going to talk to Danica Patrick. The car was not very good, but she manages to fight back for a 6th place finish here on the streets of Toronto. Stay with us.
ESPN's coverage of the IndyCar Series at Toronto on ABC. Brought to you by Firestone, the first name in Indy racing. And Iowa's corn growers, proudly feeding and fueling the world.
And as you take a look at the CN Tower from the air and our aerial helicopter, take another look at the points. We told you about them. And the 2 changes, Dario Franchitti moves up 1 spot, Scott Dixon drops a spot. And notice Justin Wilson. The win last week and a good strong run this week. Justin moves into 9th position while Graham Rahal drops to the 10th position. And we promised to talk to Danica Patrick about her day. Jack Arute has caught up with her.
Well, Danica, you're right in the middle of that points chase, and before the start of this race, you knew that you were going to have to just stay focused, and you did.
Yeah, you definitely had to stay focused out there. This is as a word I used a couple days ago in the rain, a treacherous track. So I just kept my cool. You know, we went really long stints out there, and the first set of tires, the blacks, I mean the last 20 laps, all I had to do was just tell myself, like, go slow to go fast, just chill out, don't make a mistake, because I was sliding all 4 wheels all over the place. So, but it was a good strategy and, you know, a pretty good result. I'm a little disappointed with myself that I lost those 2 spots on that second to last restart, but you know, there was a premium on hot tires, and I'm making some excuse here. But you know, everybody around me was doing burnouts and.
Yeah, were you surprised too at how dicey it was? I mean, there was a lot of physical contact for a road course.
Yeah, well, I think why that was there was because the hairpin is so slow. I mean, I've got, you know me, I'm relatively, you know, under control. I don't do anything too crazy. I've got wheel marks all down the left side of my car from getting next to Wilson coming out of the hairpin, but you're going so slow that not a lot happens. So I think that's why you see a little bit more for the wheel marks, and probably also then, you know, sometimes it doesn't end up so good and you crash. But
thanks, Danica.
Thanks.
With that.
And as we finish up with Danica, let's check in with Vince Welch.
Alex Tagliani led some laps today, and maybe if not for an ill-timed yellow here and there, he might have had a better finishing position than ninth. But just in general, how would you assess the run today?
Oh, very good. I mean, you know, for a partial, you know, team, it's very good. I mean, we came here, you know, like put our head down, worked on the car, and you know, we show that we could dominate. So. Other than that pits are closed, yellow flag stop that caused us to lose all our ground, I think we had it in our pocket today, so very good.
Take us through what happened from your perspective in the incident involving Thomas Schechter.
I think, you know, 3 guys going for the same spot and there's lack of room, but you know, Brian in the meeting said, you know, like no blocking, and had a good run being in the third position there, got on the inside, you know, like and Moraes squeezed Schechter, Schechter squeezed me, and I touched the wall, and then I slid into the guys, and just, you know, a very bad race incident.
When a driver throws his gloves at you when you're out on the racetrack like that, what's going through your mind in that situation?
You ignore him. That's all. You just do your things and wait for the next restart.
Alex Tagliani managing a smile today. A good solid run for the Conquest team today, Marty.
Yeah, it certainly was. It was a great answer. There is the celebration on the podium. Stay with us. We still have more coming from Toronto.
See, President of Honda Canada.
Well, we've got a moment. Let's check the Motorsports calendar. And the Mopar Mile High NHRA Nationals will be on ESPN2 tonight at 7 Eastern. And then NASCAR Now, presented by the Home Depot. You'll see that 5 Eastern Monday on ESPN2. And then next Saturday on ESPN2, we'll have NASCAR Nationwide Series qualifying. That'll be at 5 Eastern. And then we'll turn right around at 9 Eastern on ESPN2 and have the Nationwide Series event from Gateway International. And then the IndyCar Series, this is our last stop, so the Versus crew will be taking you home from here, and we send our best to them and wish them well with the rest of the season. They'll kick it off at Edmonton, 5 Eastern, Sunday, July 26th. That race again from Edmonton on Versus. And here in Toronto, as the sailboat's coming in from a great day on the water, Justin Wilson didn't have as great a day as last week, but 5th is pretty good, Brianne.
That's right, Marty. Pretty good. Dale Coyne, another strong finish for the team. Justin, when I sat down here with you, you said, we survived. How hard was it just to keep the car in one piece today?
It was really tough. You know, there's a lot going on. You were sliding around. At the start, I got boxed in. No matter which way I went, I was boxed in behind Graham, who had had contact right at the first, or before the first corner. So, you know, that was very difficult. But, you know, I managed to get through that. I'm really pleased the Z-Line design car was fast. And, you know, I felt that we had a chance of being on the podium again, but it's just how it goes.
Happy to come away with the top 5. The Dale Coyne, Justin Wilson story continues. Marty?
Yes, it does, and it's going to be fun to watch as they make the next trek over to Edmonton. Final thoughts here in your hometown of Toronto?
Well, there's nothing like a great street course to turn around and get the emotions going of drivers, and I think that's going to carry over to the streets of Edmonton. And even though there's a week off, drivers never forget, Marty. So I look for fireworks in 2 weeks in Edmonton.
Anybody in particular?
Oh, boy, I think there's a lot of great pairings going on right now, so I'll be tuning in just to watch that.
All right, well, while we've got a moment, coming up next, it'll be Sports Center at the Open Championship. And you'll see that right here on most of the ABC stations as the activities out on Lake Ontario continue. For us, I mean, as I said, this is our last stop, and we want to thank everybody, our entire crew from ESPN and right on down the line. It's always fun for us. Been fun working with you again. As always, going to miss you as I continue on with the Nationwide Series next week in St. Louis.
And looking forward to watching you on television. I'll be off doing some go-karting.
You sure you don't want to try your hand at NASCAR? Little, as you call them, tin tops?
Tin tops. I drove an IROC car once. It was very loud.
All right. Well, congratulations to Dario Franchitti. Thanks for watching ESPN on ABC. For our entire ESPN crew, for Scott Goodyear, Jack Arute, Brianne Pedigo, Vince Welch, thanks so much for joining us here on ESPN on ABC for what was a great race. Till we meet again.